Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. It just seems like a desecration.
Ja, god morgon. Ja, vi fortsätter att prata om Epstein, även om Trump inte vill att vi ska göra det. Och jag ska säga god morgon till Jenny. Du tycks vara den enda som har hittat hit nu till Frukostklubben. Det står vid ögat att det är en som deltar, och det är väl du då, om inte siffran ljuger för mig. Men många tittar ju såklart i efterhand. Det kanske är lite tidigt att vara med klockan 8 på morgonen. Ja, jag ska fortsätta med Epstein, och jag har ju väntat på att kanalen Redacted ska ta upp ämnet. Och det gjorde de igår då på måndagen. Så att jag har inte med hela videon, men jag kommer att lägga videon separat. Hela videon, och för att den håller ju på nästan en timme. Men jag tog med den första kvarten. Och jag kör väl igång med den på en gång, och sen efter den är klar så har jag några saker att läsa också. Men här kommer kanalen Redacted.
It is time to wake up. On this show, we cover the stories the mainstream media won't touch. Live from the Rocky Mountains. Welcome to Redacted with Natalie and Clayton Morris. Are you ready? Let's get uncomfortable. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome into Redacted on this Monday. So glad to see everyone here. And yes, the mainstream media in collusion with the Trump Justice Department and the DOJ over the years. The Justice Department under the Biden administration, the Obama administration, of course, covering up the Epstein files. We're going to go over pretty much everything, or a lot of it today, with a fine-tooth comb on the show today.
Whose phone is going off? This is serious stuff. And if you have been seeing this in your nightmares, if this has been validating of everything that you know, we're going to go over that as well as talk about who is still lying, because we don't have all of it. What we have is some of it. What we have is damning enough. So yes, there were Epstein clients. Yes, there were actual victims of abuse and other horrors. All of this is true. Yes, the mainstream media is in on it. Many of them mentioned in the files. So yeah, Clayton and I both woke up with, we both said we had nightmares about it after going through it all weekend.
I mean, just poring over these documents and going through all of the nuggets of it, just horrifying stuff. So yeah, a lot of sleepless weekend nights going over this stuff, but we're going to dive into it today. But thank you guys for subscribing to the channel, being a part of our channel here. We have no agenda. We are not bought and sold by anybody. It's kind of interesting to see who has been silent on social media about all of this. Once the Epstein files, like the Mark Levins of the world, Laura Loomer's like all in on Tucker Carlson this weekend, like no mention of the Epstein files. It's so crazy.
Yeah, we also should mention that the Department of Justice had incriminating documents about President Trump and then took them down. Again, they're allegations. They're victim allegations, which we've seen before in litigation, but we don't have communication from him. We don't have proof. We don't have anything corroborating yet. So why did they take those things down? You wonder if they were just allegations.
Well, by the way, there's now a lawsuit or a motion by two different judges in New York to try to get the entire DOJ website taken down that has all of the Epstein library documents on there, or at least the 3 million that are, heavily redacted, of course. So because they say the victims. Okay, but most of that's redacted. In fact, the testimonies are missing from these Epstein documents, and they should be actually part of because of the Transparency Act. So let's get into all of that today. Good to see everyone live today. We are live on Rumble. We are live on YouTube. We are live on X. So thank you guys for subscribing and being a part of our show here. We really appreciate it. All right. Well, Friday night, the DOJ released 3 million pages included in the Epstein documents dump. This was all part of the Epstein Transparency Act led by Ro Khanna and Congressman Thomas Massie. At first glance, one might assume that massive document dump would provide massive answers and a clear line to arrests and prosecutions. There'd be people in handcuffs today, but it doesn't. But when you dig a little deeper, you realize the document dump was engineered by Pam Bondi's DOJ to be basically an intentional obfuscation. That's the way that I see it, where there's almost no context at all, millions of sort of disparate pieces about pedophiles, Bill Gates' STDs, torture videos, cannibalism, Palantir. I mean, you have like Los Alamos Nuclear Laboratory. I mean, there's so much stuff in here, all with very little context to go on, fragments and redactions. One former FBI agent described it as controlled confusion on purpose, that this is being weaponized on purpose.
Ja, kontrollerad förvirring. Det är alltså en massa lösa bitar som man har släppt och det är väldigt svårt att få ett sammanhang i det hela. Och meningen, som Clayton Morris säger här, att det är väl justitiedepartementet har med avsikt gjort att det ska vara förvirrande. Och det är ju inga som har blivit fängslade för brott och lär väl inte bli några heller. Jag menar, både Hillary Clinton och Bill Clinton och Trump och Musk och massa höjdare som har deltagit i de här orgierna, de kommer ju fortsätta, de håller varandra om ryggen. Och de som då säger att Trump, det är tack vare Trump som vi har fått se de här filerna. Nej, det är inte tack vare Trump. Han har ju stretat emot hela tiden, utan det är ju en så kallad transparent lag som kongressen stiftade med överväldigande majoritet som har tvingat Trump att släppa de här filerna. Han har inte velat släppa de här filerna. Så ge inte honom någon credit för att vi har fått se en del saker. Och dessutom så av misstag så släppte de väl lite väl mycket avslöjande saker och som de blixtsnabbt tog tillbaka. Men som tur var så hade ju många hunnit att spara undan filerna, så att de har vi fått se en hel del av. Och jag kommer fortsätta att spegla det här ämnet så länge som det är nödvändigt. Men nu fortsätter jag med Clayton Morris och videon.
What Philip called it over the weekend was chum. They gave us some chum. Like, we can chew on it for a while, get us all worked up, and we are, for sure. But there are more questions than answers now.
I should also point out that according to our sources at Redacted, there was supposed to be a meeting today or over the next 24 hours overseas with the delegation from Russia and the United States. We're talking Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, members of the Trump administration. That was abruptly canceled. Now, the New York Times is kind of like spinning that it's all fine, nothing really to see here. But suddenly there was a beeline for Mar-a-Lago and an emergency meeting, including Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in Mar-a-Lago. So that was called off. Zelensky, the Russian delegation, immediately called off, and an emergency meeting being held at Mar-a-Lago. We don't know what's going on. We're trying to get more details about that, and hopefully we will. Meanwhile, Congressman Ro Khanna, Congressman Thomas Massie are not happy, as you can imagine. According to the DOJ, there are about 6 million documents, but they only released about 3 million of them.
Ja, det var ju meningen att det skulle diskuteras om Ukraina då med Ryssland, och det mötet ställdes in, och nu har de ju då haft ett krismöte istället, och det har säkert att göra med hur fan ska vi göra nu när de här Epsteinfilerna har läckt ut. Och jag tror att de är desperata inom, och speciellt Trump är väl den som är mest desperat av allihopa.
Thousands of videos, thousands of photos, a lot more that they didn't release. Now, I spoke on the phone with Congressman Thomas Massie just a short time ago this morning, and he's not happy. And I wanted to ask him specifically, what are you not happy about? Like, what specifically are you waiting on from the DOJ? And he said the DOJ is intentionally hiding key parts of the Epstein files release. At the top of the list is names of the perpetrators. He wants to know why the key names of people who speak about torturing children or death threats or who involved in criminal activities are redacted, because they're not supposed to be. People who threatened Mark Epstein, Epstein's brother, that they were going to, quote, kill him, just like we did your brother in prison. We'll suffocate you. We'll suffocate you as well. So, or the torture videos, where are you? Are you okay? I love the torture video. I'm in China. I'll be on the U.S. in the second week of May. I'm in China. I love the torture video, though. Like,
ja, det här också. Varför får vi inte reda på vem som har fått det här mejlet? Det är ju skickat av Jeffrey Epstein till någon höjdare då som befinner sig i Kina. Och han i Kina har tydligen skickat en video med när man torterar barn antagligen. Så kallad snufffilmer. Och han säger det, ja, jag älskade tortyrvideon, men vem fan var det som skickade den till honom? Det vill vi veta. Och de ska banne mig inte hålla på och smussla undan och gömma. Och det är ju som Trump säger, han vill inte släppa det här för att det är många av hans vänner som blir skadade på det viset. Ja, det är klart de blir skadade om vi får reda på vad de håller på med. Så att, det sa ju han till Marjorie Taylor Greene, att han kallar ju henne för en förrädare för att hon ville att filerna skulle släppas och namnen skulle publiceras. Men det vill inte Donald Trump inte, utan han blev ju så småningom tvungen att släppa en del här för att det var ju ett överväldigande tryck emot honom. Han kunde inte stå emot längre, men det var ju motvilligt, det var inte frivilligt.
Why is that name redacted? And Congressman Massey wants to know why, because it's under the law, the Transparency Act is not supposed to be. Massey wants to know why these potential criminals are being protected by Trump's DOJ. As part of the Transparency Act, they are not to be hidden or redacted, but they are. Massey also told me this morning at the top of his list of his concerns are the victims' stories and testimonies. They are supposed to be unredacted and released, specifically the 302 forms. Now, here's an example of an FBI 302 form from the Warren Commission, the laughable Warren Commission, but just so you get a sense of what they look like. 302 forms are summaries of interviews conducted by FBI agents taking notes as victims pour their hearts out about Epstein, about the cabal that tortured people, raped, abused them, what they saw. And of course, these are summaries then by the FBI. So what happened to them? These 302 victims' testimonies were supposed to be unredacted and released. They were not. The DOJ's Todd Blanche says they're done. They've looked at all the documents. They've met their legal requirement, which is a bald-faced lie. Watch.
There are a small number of documents, as I said on Friday, that we're waiting for a judge to say we're allowed to release because of a protective order. But this review is over. I mean, we reviewed over 6 million pieces of paper, thousands of videos, tens of thousands of images, and which is what the statute required us to do. It's interesting. Leadership on the Hill, Congressman Massey, Senator Schumer are quick to complain. There is no way they have spent any time looking at the materials we produce, because I know the materials we produced them on Friday. By Saturday, they're already complaining about what we did. And by the way, apparently Massey and others wrote a letter to come and review unredacted materials. I didn't get that letter yet. They leaked it to the press before they actually sent it to me. But yeah, that's absolutely, totally fine. We have nothing to hide. We have nothing to hide. We never did. And our doors are open if they want to come and review any of the materials that we produced.
Except you do have a lot to hide, because as I just laid out, there's plenty of things you didn't follow the letter of the law and actually release. Massey also told me, of course they know that these 302 forms exist because the victims told them specifically that they'd given testimony to the FBI, the FBI agents who then filled them out. So, of course, Blanche is lying and Trump's DOJ is lying here.
Can we just, for a quick second, fantasize what a serious government would do with this kind of information release? What would we expect from a government that wanted this to stop? It's like, here, you have it now. This has been happening. These powerful people were involved. Don't complain. You got it. But a serious government would say, we all need shovels.
And all hands on deck, like an all hands on deck situation.
We need to dig out who is remotely connected to this and make sure that they don't have power over the American people and decisions.
Yeah.
And they're just like, you got it. Let's move on. Nobody's worried about. The rest of us have to think about sitting in this swamp of muck.
Imagine being okay with allowing this to be done. Like, so I'm sorry, children were killed and tortured and you're okay with that? What kind of a sick person is like, I don't care, move on?
Now you know it happened.
And not only that, like what really chaps my ass is this investigation wasn't done last year. All of this information has been there for like many administrations and nobody has done a damn thing.
Right.
Because they're all implicated.
Well, I think I've been obsessed with how far we can go back to the government's knowledge of Epstein and the fact that he had done an anonymous FOIA request for his own records to see if the government knew about him working with the CIA. We don't know what he got from it, but that was at least during the Clinton administration. So now, as far as we knew before, we could only go back to Bush. Now I think we're going back even further than that, which means, again, if you're trying to squeeze this through a partisan lens, you're an idiot. This goes both sides, everyone powerful.
So where the hell are these victim statements? I mean, of course, these statements that Massey's asking about would reveal rapists, torturers, locations, so much more, right? Massey also told me that the DOJ didn't release information about Epstein's co-conspirators during his arrest, that Epstein didn't act alone, so he had co-conspirators. We know this, as identified by the FBI and the DOJ, but for whatever reason, they withheld that, redacted that information. But the American people want this information. Again, this is a violation of the law under the Transparency Act that they just passed and President Trump signed. So Blanche to sit there and say we followed the letter of the law is a lie. There were co-conspirators. There was a client list, by the way. Turns out this was another bald-faced lie.
And if you see our memo on Epstein, you will see, our memo on Epstein clearly points out that there was no client list, our July 6th memo.
Okay. A lie, of course. Clear to see. One other key and very important missing document from the DOJ files release that Massey and Ro Khanna demanded is the documents related to who authorized his first prison sentence to be so damn lenient. This is actually in the Transparency Act. Unredacted, who gave that authorization? Who said make it lenient? This again was demanded by Congress, signed into law by the President of the United States, specifically who allowed them to do this, almost no time in prison for child sexual abuse. The DOJ, of course, is hiding this information. So they say they're done. Massey and Ro Khanna say, no, you're not. You have not followed the letter of the law. And, of course, you have, like, the MAGA sort of, influencer crowd, the binders crowd, just saying, see, there it is. Move along now.
Yeah.
Move along.
There's evil, eating people kind of thing in here. It happened. We got it. Let's keep going.
Well, we've got more news to get to. We're gonna unpack a lot of things today. We want to go deeply into the collusion of the media. The media piece of this is actually pretty shocking. We're going to unpack all of that. We're also going to look at the child sacrifice and pedophilia ring and how deep this cannibalism piece goes. Because now a lot of pieces are starting to come together. Even though there are fragments, we're starting to piece it all together here about how deep and sick this actually is. And the people that are alleged to have seen and witnessed all of this child sacrifice, pedophilia ring. We're not going to stop with that. We're going to cover that in a minute. But
all right, let's talk about the collusion between the government and the media to cover up the Epstein files for decades. Let's start with the most obvious reason is that many of the people in the media in charge were friends with Epstein, and those people are still in power. Now, we know that because Barry Weiss, the new head of CBS News, is mentioned in the Epstein files. Here is an email from Epstein to Nellie Bowles, Who is Nellie Bowles? Well, not only at the time was she a New York Times journalist, having friendly little meetups, she is also married to Barry Weiss, the new head of CBS News, and she is one of the founders of the Free Press, which CBS News just bought for millions and millions of dollars. So how do I put this mildly? The two of them are ideologically aligned with Jeffrey Epstein. They both have undying support for Israel. So it is perhaps curious that Nellie Bowles and Barry Weiss started dating in 2018. And after they met, look again at this email. Here's Epstein asking Bowles how it went, introducing her to your mom, your partner to your mom. I mean, unless she had another girlfriend besides Barry Weiss at the time, this is clearly in relationship to Nellie Bowles. And he asks her for a meeting, want to hear all about it. She is enthusiastic in her response.
Ja, att inte gammelmedia har tagit upp det här tillräckligt. Det är ju för att det är Israel som, allting leder ju tillbaka till Israel och Mossad, alltså Israels underrättelsetjänst. Så att det är ju väldigt känsligt och man har inte velat ta upp att Jeffrey Epstein var agent för Israel. Det skulle man inte få prata om. Så att allting leder tillbaka till det där jävla skitlandet Israel.
Would love to. Oh, it's you. Yes, I'd love to. When's a good day? Can make it as soon as you want. Here's my address. Again, at this point, she's a New York Times reporter. She would have known that he is a convicted sexual abuser. He would have known that because you know what? The New York Times did, in fact, cover it when he went to prison in 2008. Take a look at that. Now, you may ask, why did she circle the name of that reporter? That's not Nellie Bowles. Because this dude, Landon Thomas, was also in the Epstein files. He covered Epstein's prison sentence in 2008. Fast forward to 2017. Here's an email from him to Epstein warning him that there's a journalist digging around about him. So how do you go from covering his sexual scandal to you're his chumps, you're his bud, so much so that you're going to warn him about any kind of hit on his public relations? And so now we have not only one, but two New York Times journalists, friends with Epstein in a friendly manner, kind of first name basis type of banter. Now, CBS has not responded to this connection, but since CBS bought the Free Press and Nellie Bowles is head of strategy and writes a column at the Free Press, that means CBS now has two reporters who are linked to Epstein relationships. Another CBS News connection was also in the files this weekend. Peter Attia, author of the book Outlive. He was named just last Tuesday. He's had a heck of a week as a correspondent, a medical correspondent for CBS News here.
Ja, hela den här videon kommer jag att lägga upp separat så att den fortsätter ju ett bra tag efter att jag stoppade här. Nu ska jag läsa några saker också. Jag ska börja med Fria Tider. Jagland mejlade Epstein om fantastiska unga kvinnor. Nysläppta dokument visar mejl mellan den tidigare norska statsministern Torbjörn Jagland och Jeffrey Epstein där fantastiska och unga kvinnor diskuteras. Mejlen motsäger Jaglands tidigare påståenden om att hans kontakter med sexförbrytaren varit strikt begränsade till normal diplomatisk aktivitet. I två mejl från 2012 och 2013 nämns både fantastiska och unga tjejer. Jag har varit i Tirana, Albanien, fantastiska tjejer och jag kan inte hålla igång det med bara unga kvinnor som du vet, står det i mejlen. Jaglands advokat Sigurd Klomseth menar att uppgifterna inte stämmer och ifrågasätter dokumentens äkthet. Det har framkommit att det finns anledning att närmare utreda äktheten i det material som har lagts fram. Han vill förtydliga att han aldrig har haft någon kontakt med Epstein relaterat till hans privatliv och kontakter med unga flickor, skriver Kromset till NTB. När VG konfronterar Jagland med mejlen vill han själv dock inte kommentera innehållet. Det strömmar in mejl och påståenden timme för timme och det är omöjligt att avgöra vad som är sant och vad som inte är det. Därför kan jag inte förhålla mig till detta hela tiden, särskilt med hänsyn till min privata situation, skriver Jagland i ett sms till tidningen. Andra dokument visar att Jagland ska ha bett Epstein om ekonomisk hjälp för ett husköp i Oslo och att de träffas vid flera tillfällen, bland annat i Strasbourg, New York och Paris. Jagland bekräftar endast ett möte i Strasbourg. Jag håller med premiärministern om att jag har visat dåligt omdöme genom att ha haft kontakt med Jeffrey Epstein. Som jag har sagt tidigare skulle jag aldrig ha haft det om jag visste vad vi vet nu, skriver Jagland i ett uttalande till Aftonposten. Enligt NTB kommer Jagland att ge sin samlade syn på anklagelserna skriftligen inom kort. Jag har ett par andra ämnen som inte har med Epstein att göra, och för jag tyckte det här var ett glädjande nyhet ifrån Samnytt. Tidöregeringen föreslår utökat tjänstemannaansvar. Sveriges offentliga institutioner förvaltar svenska folkets skattepengar och upphandlar årligen varor och tjänster för över 1000 miljarder kronor. Inom dessa institutioner finns det personer som missbrukar sina positioner på olika sätt, och därför går regeringen och Sverigedemokraterna fram med ett förslag om utökat straffrättsligt tjänstemannaansvar. I den offentliga verksamheten arbetar tjänstemän i medborgarnas tjänst och de allra flesta av dessa agerar sakligt och opartiskt. Det finns dock också de som missbrukar sin makt för att gynna egna intressen eller för att missgynna någon annan, alternativt för att gå kriminellas ärenden. Detta är något som riskerar att urholka förtroende för såväl demokratin som rättsstaten, och ytterst handlar det om medborgarnas förtroende för det allmänna, skriver justitieminister Gunnar Strömmer och Henrik Winge med flera i en debattartikel. Nu går man fram med ett förslag om utökat tjänstemannaansvar. Ja, det tycker jag är väldigt viktigt att ha ett tjänstemannaansvar. Och jag ska läsa någonting från Swebb-TV Nyheter. SD vågar inte yttra sig. Känsliga ämnen tystas. Sverigedemokraterna följer strömmen i flera frågor som Ukraina, vaccin och klimatet. Det finns en tystnadskultur man följer med för att få vara med och leka i sandlådan, berättar den tidigare SD-politikern Barbara Åberg i Swebb-TV. Det är i en ny lördagsintervju i Swebb-TV som den tidigare SD-politikern Barbara Åberg bland annat pratar om tystnadskulturen inom partiet. Hon blev uthängd av Expo och i media sedan hon spridit information från Swebb-TV. Enligt Åberg blev SD rädda efter publiceringen. Jätterädda, säger hon. Det var ju panik. Det var möten direkt efter när de hängt ut mig. De samlade till privata möten och var jättestressade. Och det kan även handla om andra frågor som vaccin och Ukraina. Jag tror att de bara följer med för att få vara med och leka i sandlådan. De vågar inte yttra sig. Alla har ju den här tystnadskulturen. Det är överallt, säger hon. Det förekom inga diskussioner om dessa frågor. Nej, det gick inte. Det var ju bara jag som tog upp detta och då blev jag tystad. Det omfattar även klimatfrågan. Detta är känsliga ämnen. Allt sånt är känsligt, man pratar inte om det. Hur Expo kan ha den här makten är en jättebra fråga, tycker Åberg. Ja, det var allt vad jag hade att komma med och jag önskar alla en god fortsättning på dagen. Hej då!